Hello, welcome back to Mancinima and to our first film review of 2024. And I've got a little horror movie for you, right at the beginning of the year, a little horror movie. It's called Nightswim, it's directed by Bryce Maguire and it's based on his short film of the same name. And it stars Wyatt Russell, son of Kurt Russell, and he's playing a character called Ray Waller. Now, Ray Waller is an ex-professional baseball player, and he's been told he's got this degenerative disease. So at the beginning of the film, we see him, he's got a walking stick, and he's really struggling to walk and to hold himself up. And, he's going to the doctor. The doctor says, well, things are not going to get any better for you. So that's his path in life. He's kind of on a downward path and things aren't going to get any better for him. They're driving along, him and his wife, Eve, of course, played by Kerry Condon, and their two children. And as they're driving along, they're looking for a place to rent. However, they come across this house and he sees it in a nice neighbourhood with everybody playing out on their lawns and all the children playing on the lawns. And you can see it going through his head that this is the kind of life that he would like. And he would like to settle down. So he thinks, rather than renting, why don't we buy a property? And they find the ideal house, which has just been abandoned. They take a look around the house. Everything seems perfectly normal, as it would do in one of these films. And out the back of the house, there is a giant swimming pool. Now, it's a little bit dilapidated. It's a little bit run down. It's covered in leaves from the leaf fall from the autumn. It's grimy. It's dirty. It needs a lot of work to bring it up to life. And Ray Waller sees this as a project that he could put his energies into, something to keep him focused and keep him going forward. So that's what they decide to do. They buy the house, they decide to clean out the pool, him, his wife and the two children, and bring it back up to standard. Now, initially, the pool has got some nastiness in it. They find bits of dirt, bit of grime, bit of that black horror movie gloop that you get around. And they get the people out to test the toxicity of the pool, if that's the correct word. And initially it's all nasty and everything, but they work really hard and they get it up to standard, and he does the little test, and the test shows that the pool is clean and good to use. So they fill it up with water, and once again it looks like a fantastic swimming pool. It's a really big pool and everything looks lovely for him. And Ray finds that when he goes into the pool and has a few swims to keep his muscles going and things like that, he actually feels that he's getting better. He goes back to the doctors, and the doctors say, this is very strange because your degenerative disease, something which was going to lead to your death, you are kind of recovering from it. You're kind of getting better from that. So keep on doing what you're doing and see how things go. So Ray has a lovely, refreshing swim every day just to kind of build himself up. And he does feel like he's getting better. He begins to put the cane down. He begins to walk a little bit easier on his feet. So things are beginning to look very good. So it seems that the pool idea is a good idea. However, as things progress, first his son, and then his daughter, and then the wife, and then Ray himself experience strange things that are attached to the pool. These spooky goings on. Each of them has an individual kind of experience, and eventually they all bring it together and say something's not right with this pool. I don't think we should use this pool. And of course Ray becomes a bit obsessed with this, thinking this is only doing me good, so how can it be bad? And he's the one who's kind of, no, we must keep the pool. And everybody else is having these bad experiences and they don't want to be involved with the pool. So, that's the basics of the story. Some nasty, spooky things go on throughout the movie. And they follow the tropes of, and I don't want to spoil this for you, but if you're familiar with the old movie from 1979, the Amityville Horror, they follow the tropes of the Amityville Horror in that, family buys a house, family moves into the house, a couple of spooky things begin to happen, things get worse. The wife decides to go off and find out a bit more about the house and finds out it's got a bit of a dark history. So all of those things were box checking along the way during this movie. And I found that actually kind of fun, being very familiar with the Amityville Horror movie. I found that quite fun to sit and watch this film and go, okay, she's going to do this. Yep, she's done that. Okay, this is going to happen. Yep, that happens. And you kind of box tick along the way, but it doesn't ruin the movie. I mean, it's kind of a little fun game to play if you're going to go and see this film. I thought everybody gave great performances. I thought Wyatt Russell was particularly great. The only thing I'd seen him in before was he was in one of the Marvel TV shows as a Captain America clone. I can't remember what the character's name was. But yeah, he was in one of those, and I didn't think he was that great in that. But in this movie, he's pretty good. He's his own man. And there are moments where he kind of looks very much like Kurt Russell, especially across the eyes. But yeah, he gives a great performance in this. I thought Kerry Condon gave a great performance as the mother. She's the one who's kind of picking the story apart and finding out what's going on. And the two children are very good as well. Usually you get children in these movies, they're very annoying, they get under your skin, and you want something nasty to happen to them. But no, these are nice, likeable kids, and that's the best thing you can have in a horror movie. It's something I've been saying for a long, long time now. Let's have likeable characters. If you have likeable characters, you'll be invested in them, you care about what's happening to them, and then you go along with the ride. Whereas if you get a movie, in particular, I was particularly annoyed with Talk to Me last year when all of the characters were unlikable and I didn't care what happened to them. And I think that ruined that movie for me because I didn't care what happened to the fate of them because they were so bland and so nasty, characters that I didn't really care what happened to them. But yeah, in this movie, you're invested in the characters. They're very well portrayed. The story isn't the best horror movie in the world. That's, like I say, it ticks boxes. It's cliched, but it's a fun ride at the cinema. It's one of those ones where you can just go in, sit down, let the movie wash over you, and you come out and say, you know what, that wasn't bad. It's not going to be the greatest horror movie of the year easily. But if you just want a nice, simple horror movie to sit in the cinema and sit down and watch and enjoy, this could be the one for you. There's a couple of things that I probably wouldn't have done in this film. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's a couple of... I think they could have done away with something in this movie and it still would have been good. They could have ratcheted up the suspense by not including certain elements. I won't tell you what they are, but when you see the movie, hopefully you'll pick up on them and hopefully you'll feel the same way. But yeah, I enjoyed this film. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought everybody gave a good performance. It wasn't super suspenseful. It wasn't super scary, but it's just one of those nice kind of January horror movies that you can sit and watch and enjoy. So I would give Nightswim a solid 7 out of 10. Like I say, I enjoyed it. It's one of those early horror movies. We're going to get the better stuff later on in the year, hopefully. But yeah, for now, if you want to get out of the house, if you're bored of the graininess and the drizzle and the just general moodiness of January, and you just want to nip out and have an enjoyable horror movie to watch, you couldn't do much wrong with Nightswim at the cinema. Another movie that opened earlier this year, in fact New Year's Day, is the movie One Life, starring Anthony Hopkins as Sir Nicholas Winton. Now, Nicholas Winton was a London broker who visited Prague in December 1938, and he was appalled at the conditions that the children were living in with their families who had fled the Nazis. They were in Prague, and what they were trying to do is obviously flee from the Nazis, and he was worried for their safety and for their lives. So what he decided to do with his team is to see how many of these children that he could rescue before the borders were closed. And he actually managed to rescue 669 of these children and their families. However, he was haunted for many years afterwards, 50 years afterwards, in fact, by the people that he didn't rescue, and it always weighed on his mind. And that was until he was brought onto a television show, and that television show was a TV show for Britain called That's Life, which was broadcast in 1988. And it was highlighted to him exactly the people that he had saved. So this is a very moving, very touching, and obviously very important story about one man who decided to do the best that he can. It's got echoes of Schindler's List, of course, a similar story about a man who decided to save a number of people from the Nazis. And it's kind of a British version of that, although not as dark and menacing. Everybody gives a fantastic performance in it, especially Anthony Hopkins as Sir Nicholas Winton. And the movie does flash backwards and forwards in time from him rescuing the children to how he's feeling right now. I think that might have been to the detriment of the movie for me personally. I felt that it kind of slowed things down. A lot of the backwards and forwards made the film a little bit dull in places. But yeah, it's a touching story. It's a moving story. It's a story that everybody could, and should actually see and understand and watch. And the only thing I will say about this film is the thing that ruined it for me, and it kind of had me almost nodding off in places, is the score. I found the score to be very droning, very dreary, and you just feel that for a movie with such an important message, they could have done something better with the music. I just felt the music kind of dragged me down, and there were moments where the movie, with the music, if you like, was so droning and so dreary that it almost had me nodding off watching it because it just ruined the movie for me. So see this film, but be aware that it's got a really droning, really boring score. Similar thing happened with a movie called Spencer, which was about the life of Lady Diana Spencer, which was released a few years ago. The story was interesting. It's about her life with her children one Christmas time. But the music was just so dreary throughout. It made me just kind of never want to watch that film again, and I haven't seen it again since. I hope that's not the case with One Life. I hope I can revisit this film and maybe just kind of turn the music off. But the music does kind of lay over the film, and it's kind of constant throughout the film, and it's just like I say, it's just droning and dreary. And for me, it took the edge off it for me, which should have been a very interesting, very important film for me to watch. Was ruined by this musical score. So make of that what you. Maybe you'll be okay with the score. But yeah, One Life is in cinemas now. It's a BBC production, so it will eventually end up on the BBC, maybe sometime over Christmas or maybe before that. But yeah, go and see that movie at the cinema as well. And I would give One Life, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, and it's marked down purely because of the music. Like I say, for me, it ruined the movie. It kind of really brought this really droning, really dreary score, and it took away from what the message they were trying to put across, if you know what I mean. I would have been more invested in the film if they'd had a better score. So there you go. There's two movies that we start the year off with, two very, very different movies. You've obviously got one very, very serious movie in One Life, and you've got one fun horror movie in Nightswim. Both of them scoring 7 out of 10 from me for different reasons. But yeah, go and see those movies at the cinema. We've got a couple more movies for you coming up next week. I can tell you one of them is called Poor Things. It's an Oscar contender. It's just been up for the Golden Globes this weekend. I don't know how well that's going to fare because it's directed by the same person who did a film that I didn't like a few years ago called The Others, which again I found very dreary. So I'm hoping Poor Things is going to be a little bit better than that. It's got a little bit of a horror tinge and that it's linked to the Frankenstein story. So only time will tell, I guess. And also at the end of next week, we've got one that should be, again, a little bit more fun, which is The Beekeeper, starring Jason Statham as this kind of stealth operative who works within a system and he takes out like a corrupt system. But that one looks a lot more fun, so hopefully we'll have a lot more fun with that movie. Until then, if you've enjoyed this movie, you know what to do. Please click on the thumbs up. It really does help the channel out. Don't be one of the weirdo thumb bandits who click on it that way because they can't tell up from down. But yeah, please, if you've enjoyed this video, click on the thumbs up button. It's all free, it doesn't cost you a penny. It just helps me out, helps spread the word of these video reviews I'm doing, and it encourages me to do a few more. If you're brand new to the channel, and only if you're brand new to the channel, please click the subscribe button. Again, all free, doesn't cost you a penny. Hit the notification bell, you'll know when I've done another one of these videos or one of the other videos that I've done. We've got some good videos coming up, actually, some very interesting stuff. I can't say too much about it at the moment, but it's all a work in progress. So, you know, sit back and you'll get notified when they're coming out. But yeah, thank you to everybody who has subscribed. I'm almost at 350. I think I'm about 3, 4, 5 subscribers at the moment. So if you guys can spread the word, get me some more subscribers, get everybody just to, you know, click on the subscribe button. Like I say, it doesn't cost a penny. That would be great. Really appreciate it. Let's get to 350 and then see where we can get. You know, the goal would hopefully be to get 500 subscribers by the end of the year. But if we can hit that before then, great. Let's just keep going. Shall we see where we go? Thank you very much for watching this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're going to see either of those two movies. So either One Life or Nightswim. Depending on, you know, what kind of a fan you are. If you're a horror movie fan, then I think you'll enjoy Nightswim. I think you'll get a bit of a kick out of it. And I will see you all very soon, hopefully next week, with reviews of Poor Things and The Beekeeper. Take care.